Hi, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Full Court Podcast with your host, Orazio as we continue on this journey around Europe, around the main basketball countries. We have this brand new episode in which we're going to talk about a country that we haven't talked about it so far, Turkey. And for this reason, I have here with me my colleague at basketnews.com, Uygar Karaka. Uygar, welcome.
Hello, it's been a pleasure to watch your show, and now I'm part of it. I'm very glad.
It's great to finally have Uygar on the podcast, so we can conversate a little bit about the situation with the current EuroLeague Turkish clubs. He's been kind of a journey for them in this first part of the season. And so let's jump right away, Uygar, and talk about the elephant in the room, the situation with Fenerbahce. As of right now, Fenerbahce has a record of just 3 wins and 8 losses in EuroLeague. They have lost 6 of their last 7 games. The only game they won was the one against CSKA Moscow. And especially the last couple of games against Bayern Munich and against Žalgiris Kaunas and the one against Olimpia Milan were really, really disappointing in terms of performance, of the quality of the performance. And after a few games in which we could have said, okay, they were a little bit unfortunate, against Real Madrid, against Olympiacos. In the last few games, there were really not great signs of improvement from Coach Djordjevic's side. So I want to start the conversation with you about what are your impressions so far about them. What do you think, in your opinion, he has been the main issue for them as of right now?
All right, as you summarized it very well, the situation is tense with Fenerbahce Beko. But let me tell you one thing. I'm a little bit surprised about the lack of pressure that Sasha Djordjevic is now having. Because I remember last year, there were criticism directed towards Igor Kokoshkov, who had a better CV before coming to Fenerbahce. But of course, being a coach after Željko Obradović is a daunting task. It's a very hard task. I mean, it's almost impossible to convince people. And Sasha Djordjevic, when the name was heard, when the name was around, nobody was really very excited about it, I must say, because I think Fenerbahce fans were expecting someone different. Maybe some of them were expecting Erdencan, who went to Utah Jazz eventually. So expectations were not that high. So I think that expectations not being very high, now the pressure is not that heavy. That's I can tell. But normally, if you have this amount of wins, if you are making the team play in a situation like this, in this format, you will be really in a hot seat. Fenerbahce was starting the season with one thing in their mind, I guess. Djordjevic given the priority to defense, which is also another surprising thing, and they were doing that very well. I mean, yeah, in the first games, the fixtures was not that heavy, but they were defending. At least they were doing something well. They were keeping the positions low, but they were keeping their perimeter, and so on and so on. So they won the first games, and a few of them. But there isn't as you say, elephant in the room. I mean, this team is not well organized, and it's very easy to see that when you watch them. The offensive sets are not very sophisticated. The offensive mentality is not very congruent or very fit for the player group that Fenerbahce Beko has. I mean, this team can play fast, but they don't play fast. I mean, you can choose that, but if you can choose that, you have to get them well organized. So at least you won't give easy baskets to the opponent because of the bad offenses that you had. So now Fenerbahce is no longer a good defense team, I would say. So the bad offense just pushed out the good defense because the team also, the players are also disappointed about what they are in right now. I mean, offensively, the broken plays and those low quality shots also brought them down in the defense, and seems like they need a good win or so, or everything is crumbling right now.
Yeah. Of course, even last season, Fenerbahce had kind of a slow start, but then things change, especially after the arrival of Marko Guduric during the season. They had a very good run of wins, and they changed their situation, and in the end, they were able to qualify for the playoffs. I wanted to ask you in this particular matter, when it comes to the changes that the roster faced over the summer, there is someone in particular that you believe okay, this guy could be much better than what it's showing right now. There is someone who do you believe so far I'm really disappointed by this, by his arrival, by his performances so far?
First of all, last year, starting with the last year's abrupt change, I mean, that change came out of kind of a discussion between, I guess, Igor Kokoshkov and Erdemcan, because when I talked with Erdemcan in the beginning of the season, when he just agreed to join the Utah Jazz, he said he gave some kind of clues that there were some kind of discussions about how this team should play, about what kind of a defense that this team should make. For instance, in the beginning of the season, Kokoshkov came with a very conservative NBA type like of a defensive mentality, where the 5 players are just staying near to the restricted zone, if I may say that. So they were trying to stick together in there and letting some kind of open shots. But the priority was just to keep their rim. But then it was observed that this was not working, and Erdemcan himself has been have used many different defenses in his career, and he said that, well, he gave some suggestions about what kind of a defense that they can make. So it was a process. They changed the defense. Then when they changed that, their offensive flow change from bottom to the top. When Guduric came, it was also a boost, and so on and so on. But of course, these were still ad hoc situations. I mean, one player comes and one player changes many things, and that doesn't go very long. Coming with Guduric at this season, for instance, I'm a little bit disappointed about what Guduric have shown up until now. Of course, there was his injury, and I think he missed some kind of physical training in the beginning of the season, in the preseason. So that can be one of the reasons for that display. But secondly, I mean, I think Djordjevic is just giving a lot of burden to Guduric's shoulders, because Guduric is a creator of offense. I can understand that, but he is not that much of a good creator. Now he has an overweight, I guess. He has a really heavy burden, but especially when he went to Memphis. he got used to play in some particular type of plays. I mean, he was not playing the ball with long dribbles. He was just getting, the ball from off screens and shooting the ball with a few dribbles. But now in Fenerbahce, he's like, they give the ball to him and say, create. But it's impossible for Djordjevic at this stage. Secondly, Nando De Colo, I mean, he can play a lot better. We all know, and sometimes he does. Sometimes he carried the team by his own hands, single-handedly, as we can put it. But the lack of offensive organization, I think, brought also De Colo down as well. He's been coming from the bench for a while, like maybe 7 or 8 games. Djordjevic was using him in this way. And I think that it doesn't help as well. But I mean, the problem is not players themselves, I guess. There are so many things to rise and maybe do better. And one thing comes with another. If Nando De Colo has better looks to the rim or better positions set up for him, then his gravity will increase probably. Nowadays, teams are just doing a few things to stop Fenerbahce guys. That includes De Colo. And when nobody is able to do anything, nothing happens. But when 1 or 2 players, especially De Colo, is being given some more space or some more suitable setups that he can create something, then Djordjevic will open up, for instance. So these performances are some kind of performances that I got a little bit disappointed. Also, there are so many things. I mean, Polonara can play much better, but he cannot find the rhythm because generally Djordjevic prefers some big setup, if we may say that. Like Devin Booker and Jan Vesely are playing in 4 and 5, and so they don't stretch the court, so they don't have that much of an external 3-point shooting threat or that kind of a dynamism that Polonara can bring. So I'm not convinced with what Polonara has shown. Same goes with Pierre Henry. Maybe Seamus Azar has shown some good things for my side, but yeah, the situation is everything can be better in a few touches, but that needs good organization.
Yeah, and considering your knowledge a little bit about the situation in Fenerbahce at this point, do you believe that Coach Djordjevic may be at risk that he might lose his job if the situation keeps going like this?
From the prior memories and when we look at the history, yes, of course. I mean, this is Fenerbahce. This is a great club.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have much time and space to make mistakes, and if those mistakes are coming and reflected in successive losses, mm-hmm. and losses against teams that Fenerbahce can beat. I mean, I don't want to go into the speculation zone. Yeah. Everyone can speculate anything, but what we have seen until this season, until this far, Djordjevic's situation is definitely not 100% safe, if we can say that.
Yeah.
But no one has announced that. Okay, we are with our coach. Everybody should be calm and silent about that. Be assured that he is going to stay. If somebody says that from the administration, then we should know that his days are now numbered, because that is the way that happens. If if somebody says the coach is safe, then in 15 or 20 days he's gone. Generally, nobody has said that until this far.
Yeah. So, of course, we have talked about Fenerbahce so far, and we have said how difficult the situation has been so far. And now, of course, we have to move on a little bit about to talk about Anadolu Efes. Of course, it was a very difficult start of the season for them too, especially in the first few games. Now it looks like the situation is improving a little bit. Efes is currently on a 3-win run. Their current record is of 5 wins and 6 losses, so they are approaching slowly the playoff area. And there have been, of course, some improvements in the last few games. There have been also some adjustments on the market. But as of right now, it looks, at least from what I could have seen so far from Efes, the main issues has been with their defense. Because I was looking at some advanced stats, and as of right now, Efes is the second worst team in the competition in 3-point percentage allowed with 37.8%. And the worst team in average assists allowed with 18.2. So these numbers probably show that the kind of pressure that Efes put defensively is just not enough. It's just not effective and is not working very well. But offensively, on the other end, looks like the things are going much better, because as of right now, Efes has the second best offensive rating in the league, and they are the best team in the league in true shooting percentage. So offensively, things are starting to click, and they'll look in a great way. But of course, with you had the possibility of watch them multiple times. Uygar, what's your opinion about Efes season so far? You know, what has been the main issue with them?
Yeah, great remarks. As you have already told, the defensive problems were really hurting them in the beginning of the season, especially under the rim. I mean, Brian Dunstan and Chris Singleton, they did not start the season very well in terms of form. Also, Filip Petrushev. Filip Petrushev is a good mover. I mean, he's very good with the ball and he's very dynamic. So when I first heard his name, I thought that, okay, this can be the guy who can fill what Sertac was doing last season. But defensively, he started to the season as a vulnerability because this was his first season in the EuroLeague. Tibor Pleiss was not there. And therefore, I remember CSKA game. I mean, Johannes Voigtman, he's generally a shooter from outside, but Johannes Voigtman was scoring from inside very frequently, very occasionally, and that was not a good sign. But I mean, you know what? I think we are being a little bit unfair to Efes team because this is a champion team and it's really hard to motivate the players for the next season. It's not an easy thing. Many people take it for granted to motivate players without almost zero changes. I mean, just Sertac is gone and now Filip Petrushev is in. I mean, if we put themselves in place of them, the players, it's not an easy thing to motivate yourself because they remember last season. Last season, they started not very well. And then in the end, they got into the control and they just won the EuroLeague. So maybe in the early season things, they played like a preseason. And also the injuries did not help, especially the Mitsic situation. Because of that injury problems and struggles with the motivation things, I think Ergin Ataman had to play with more offensive lineups than he normally would play. I mean, Rodrik Bobo and Mitsic when they play together, they become a vulnerability in pick and rolls because they are not very aggressive pick and roll defenders. If I share my personal observation. So that's why maybe the other teams are finding very open threes because in one or two actions, the defense of Efes was easily broken. Now they play like a team. They organize like a team. Filip Petrushev is getting used to EuroLeague level. Chris Singleton and Brian Dunstan are not that good, but Tibor Plyce is doing very good things. Adrian Moerman is showing some effort in defense, and also Shane Larkin also got into some form. Good defense is slowly coming back, especially with the restricted area.
Yeah, as you mentioned, of course, Efes team has been almost the same in the last few years. They have made very few changes to that roster, and of course now they have several players who are, let's say, in the final part of their careers, and of course with also the situation surrounding Micic and Larkin. You know, every summer. We talk about them with the possibility of going to the NBA, going back for Larkin, going for the first time for Micic. Do you believe that, you know, even inside the organization, considering that they already won the EuroLeague title last season, and again, the team hasn't changed much even this season, do you feel like they, even inside the organization, they believe that this could be probably the last run for this group?
You say is the last dance?
Yeah.
For Efes. You never know. I mean, Efes can make very different moves. I mean, everybody expected Micic to go this summer, although Ataman just said that no, I was the one who believed that he will stay. Same goes with Shane Larkin. I mean, I won't say this question was asked to me last season, and I said probably it is because Larkin and Micic are probably going, but they stayed right now. So who knows? I mean, we expected, for instance, Olympiacos to change things when Spanoulis and Printes's duo made incredible things, and then they had to stop because they were aging and other teams are improving, but they remained in the team. So yeah, I won't say this might be the last season that we see this player group playing together. I would say 50-50 this time, because I see Micic is actually very happy having this role in Istanbul, and life is good for him. And with Larkin, I'm not so sure, but when I see the in-court body gestures and when I see the communication between the players after the games, I don't see a reason that they might find themselves coming to the end of a road of a journey. Maybe if they fail to win this year, maybe say, okay, we will come back stronger and we will win the title again with an extra motivation. So it can go on.
Yeah. Of course, this week we're also going to have the first FIBA window for the World Cup qualifiers, the World Cup which will take place in 2023. And of course, also Turkey is going to play in this first window. 2 games, one against Belarus and the other one against Great Britain. Probably the most surprising thing in the list that Turkey presented for these 2 games is the fact that they are EuroLeague players, because there is Mamutoglu, there is Shanli, there is also Shane Larkin, and it's going to be tricky, of course, because of the schedule, to see who's actually going to be able to play, especially in the second game, because of course for the first is going to be almost impossible. So I wanted to ask you, after the loss in the Olympic qualifying tournament against Greece, which was, of course, very disappointing for Turkey. Also because Greece was without several key players in their team. What's the general expectation, let's say, around Turkish basketball for the future of this national team, for the future of this movement?
Regarding the players, people are very excited. I mean, we have Alperen Şengün, we have Cedi Osman, we have Furkan Korkmaz, and also we have the young talents coming up. Very good group. Seamus Azer, Furkan Haltalı, Sadık Emir Kabaca, and Adem Bona, especially regarding the big players. We have a bright future. We have a good player potential, as we may put it. So these are just the names that come to my mind right now. I mean, Tibet Görener now isn't playing NCAA. He transferred to another college from Arizona State, and he's been doing well until now. These players we saw in under 19 World Championship. There's a very good and solid base of player group. Young player group is coming. So in that regard, we are very excited. Everybody watched that under 19 World Cup in Turkey, and I was really surprised about that. But many people were very excited and observant about these young guys. But regarding the national team, that is different. Now they've changed the coach and they've started a new era with Orhun Ene. I have a lot of confidence and a lot of respect, as everyone does, to Coach Orhun Ene, because he was a legendary point guard, and I was personally admiring what he has done. As a coach, he's done good things as well. But if I remember the FIBA windows last year, many people were unconvinced about the way that the team played against Netherlands, against Sweden. We almost not being able to go to Eurobasket 2022. So we had a big scare. But those defeats did not create a very strong reaction or something. So almost maybe an apathical reaction. So people were not expecting much from this NBA-less squad when Cedi is not there and Furkan is not there. So if we lose against Belarus, not many people will show very bad reactions because the expectations from the national team right now for this World Cup qualifiers is not very high, if I can say. But that has something to do with the FIBA windows as well. I mean, FIBA tried something really not very convenient for nobody.
Of course.
So the level of excitement and the level of enthusiasm went down. So for these two games, I won't expect much because the level of Turkish league, the domestic league, has gone, I think, in somewhat downward direction. So everybody watched that domestic players and they know them, they know their standards, and when they're tested in the international area, nobody's surprised to see some substandard performances. I mean, don't get me wrong, these are good players. I mean, probably we see in Belarus game more of Berk Uğurlu's good form this season, or maybe Furkan Haltalı and Sadık Emir Kabaca's performances, or Doğuş Özdemiroğlu in that game. But due to the league's own standards, people are not expecting too much of these games at this stage, let's say. And by the way, I think Melih Mahmutoğlu is not going to play in Belarus game. He's going to play in Great Britain game, but Seamus Azer and Metecan Birsen is going to play. There was no official announcement, but I suppose if Melih is not playing and in the national team and playing in EuroLeague, I suppose Shane Larkin is also playing in the EuroLeague game with Efes. There is no official announcement about that, but I think he's going to play on Sunday.
Okay, so we're gonna see what's gonna happen also with the Turkish national team. So we reached the end of this brand new episode of Full Court Podcast. As you have seen, we have talked plenty about Turkish basketball and what's happening right now in Turkey. So I want to thank you, Uygar, for hopping on the podcast. Thank you very much, man.
Well, thank you for inviting me, for having me. Thank you.
And with the Full Court Podcast, we're gonna see you again very, very soon. Before we close this episode, of course, I want to remind you to follow basketnews.com, where you will find all our contents, articles, video, podcast, and everything in between. Also follow our YouTube channel, basketnews.com. And again, with Full Court Podcast, we're gonna see you very, very soon.